Hi friends, let's take a look at Tezos. I'm going to try and keep today's episode a lot shorter. Things haven't really changed. Yesterday's technical analysis really does sum everything up for us. All we have here is a continuation from the day before in terms of two different stories. One, the price action, the candles themselves have continued to go down the way. We've had follow through from this movement down past this orange line here, and we've not really added these two together. They don't engulf the previous bullish candle, as in we don't have a lower low currently on this one. That's what that always adds up to, by the way, because obviously you can divide these things up in terms of different time frames to if you add it up, then obviously that's how that works. So the 2-day, for instance, isn't bearishly engulfing this one, so we don't have a lower low. You can see how that works. Little takeaway tip for you. So when people talk about engulfing candles, it's a bit of a vague concept. People are far too sort of literal, or they think that they don't appreciate the art of technical analysis, really. That's one of the things we teach on this channel to people. So anyway, still waiting to see if we can push past above these areas. We're maintaining the stance that we've had before, currently in an upward trend. We don't have bearish divergence on the go to look at in terms of the positive trend here on any of the oscillators down below. We did have bullish divergence before during this low. We haven't had much play out of that so far. Waiting to see how Bitcoin and everything else goes. We're a little bit kind of like in that end of month stun zone. The volatility is obviously dropped down a lot. The DMI shows the ADX down below 15 on a lot of time frames for a lot of these assets in the industry right now. Next month is what people are waiting for in a lot of senses. Let's see if things continue like that. Over here in the dollar pricing, we haven't had our move off the back of this wedge. This is a real wedge. We have real divergence here down below in terms of bullish divergence and this low here on the MACD. So we do have that. This is a real thing. But of course, the negative story is still the case in terms of the lack of bullish divergence on the RSI. We have gone past key areas. I want to see this be maintained here in terms of, this sort of swing failure area that you could look at just here or whatever. This is a key area for us. In the same way that we've actually seen in some senses over here, if we look at Link, Link is just being challenging it here versus the dollar against Ethereum. It's broken down past it. That's obviously negative, but obviously we want to see that that's negative, but there is a positive case to be made for Link, and I'm feeling it myself. Over here on Tezos, still feeling the positive scenario, and I would like to see this maintain its stance, above that area. If we need to retest the exponential moving average along the way, I'm happy enough to do that. As we can say here, I'm happy enough for that to happen. But I want to see it kind of regain that fairly quickly. That's what we're looking at over here as well. And of course, this is just sort of an examination of the RSI. On this one, the Bitcoin pricing as well, we have another one just above our heads. We've not managed to break up above yet. That kind of all chimes together. This traffic light zone really for us as well is going to, with these orange lines. This is the red line, the stop line down the bottom. This is the orange one, and another amber, I should say, light here. This is the zone in the middle where we have this measuring stick between these two areas, and then the green light for really sort of the party starting starts at 25k over there. In terms of this thing that the party starting, we have to look to a couple of areas, because of course the measured move from this takes us up to the 200 simple, which should be really positive. And of course, in terms of 24-hour time frame, we've never had, in terms of this particular chart, a negative cross with these things. We've never had a death cross on the Tezos versus dollar price action. Staying below the 200 simple will lead to this happening fairly soon, for the first time ever. So it'd be very nice to not have that happen. That's the too extreme of an angle down the way. I'll undo that just now. It's more like going to be like that, I suppose, or that. And this, of course, is probably more like sideways. So we're looking here at this thing and thinking, will we see a cross in the start of October on this thing, or will we see it be maintained? And what I want to see happen is a price surge towards the top side. But if we don't get that, then of course the negative scenario really does kick in for people from a broader term perspective. Now, I would still expect to see those moving averages be tested. It's just that once the cross happens, the test would be a confirmation of the cross as opposed to an undoing of the cross and a resumption of the upward trend. Okay, so that's what we're looking at in terms of this thing. And the median line of this descending pitchfork is inside pitchfork being of key importance for us. Really, actually, at the 236, let's call it 252 area, is the key area for Tezos. Really looking at this with the 233 exponential moving averages on the 24-hour time frame. I want to see things go much more positive than they have been. We don't have bearish divergence on the go as part of this upward movement on the RSI. There is a taste of it here on the Stochastics, and in terms of the MACD, it's also there, offering up the possibility, Ptolemy style, of another negativity for us. We've not got the divergence there on the between these two highs, the significant peaks on the DMI, but we do have a crossover here. The cross has happened and then happened again, whilst this has been in chop territory, really essentially for us. So it's not a strong signal for a downward move. There is a wedge here for us. A failed wedge simply becomes a parallel channel. I'd look out for that. If we see this moving towards the top side yet again, then of course that would be interesting, and we're right in there at that crucial zone just now. So taking off all of the drawings and zooming on in to make this easy for you in terms of trading this thing on the 4 hour time frame. Movements down below the 50 simple, bad. Movements up above the 21 and the 50 EMA, good. That's our current zone for us. You've got 220 and you've got 215 if you like, but actually let's just call it and be more realistic about things, 210 and 220, where we have a previous high, 223, 222, 225. Let's call it 225. So between 210 and 225 is going to be our crucial area for us. I'll just stick another little rectangle on here, this area. I'm going to go 210 up to 225. This key area for us in terms of movements, and of course as they put that drawing on, the box came back on with this wedge, and you could easily consider that zone down below to be sort of fake out territory, as we talk about on the channel, into this area here all the time. So look out for that. And then of course movements towards the top side, profit taking would be done at the below sub 240, 225 really, or 230 really, where we had our previous high over here, but 225 being a key area, because of course this puts us right into the middle of what could ultimately end up being a parallel channel at the median line, and you might find a bit of profit taken there. But pushing past that area, very, very good, and you're looking at another 5% move towards the top side quite easily thereafter that in terms of profit taken. Easy peasy, trade it as you like. It's actually really, that's all you need to know. A lot of people are making a lot of money off the back of these videos, by the way. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice. That's just what we're looking at though. What do we have here? Is this going to be a channel, or is this last high here, which is lower than the previous one, indicative of us having a wedge type structure on the go here with this one? That's the question as well with Ethereum, with regards to Ethereum. Of course, we've had this bottom coming in here. It's very much bullishly divergent, yada yada, in terms of the 4 hour time frame, all that good stuff. If we can see movements up above all these key, this confluence of moving averages, the 50, 21, the 55, very, very good. Movements down below this area of 0.006, very bad. Previous low would be your target then thereafter, and indeed if we did push on down below it, then you could take a measured move off the back of this thing and say that perhaps if we were to go in for a lower low and put in another final one, is this on luck? No, it's not. You'd be looking down towards this area here of the 55, and that would be of course key for us, key, and extending this thing over. You could see why that would be the case from our previous sort of downward trend, how that could line up there, and that parallel channel in the background, all that good stuff makes it easy for you to trade this bad boy. Looking at this thing here, then of course chop land in terms of that time frame, moving up to the bigger time frames, very much got a strength of trend in terms of the negativity. Has that started to boil off though yet? Well, yes it has, with this downward slope in the ADX, the downward movement on the DMI, moving down past the 30 line. Haven't spoke about this recently when we saw it crossing over. This is the follow through from the result of that. During this price action time period, we've seen positive price action as a result of it. We've covered everything we need to cover. Everything's pretty groovy, pretty gravy. What you do have as well is of course a symmetrical triangle on the stochastics and the RSI. Let me just draw these things in real quick. So of course if we saw a turnaround at these prices a little bit, it would make a degree of sense with this thing, whilst we could still maintain the structure of what we've got here. But I would say that we're getting towards the point where we get a breakout of these things, in which case we suddenly go past a bunch of swing points on this in terms of the swing failure. Looking back to the left and just drawing that in real quick, you can see how that would happen at the cross outside of this area. If that were to be the case, looking towards the neutral line for a bounce on our first pass. If that were to be the case, with profit taking happen at the top end of that thing, and where we see the 21 EMA on the daily time frame. That's it. Boom. Pow. Everything you need to know. I love this coin. I love all of you. I love my audience. I love everything. It's all fantastic. What I'm doing in today's episodes, by the way, is recording this and also broadcasting this live. I've not got anybody listening in at the minute, but I did that because I conducted the Bitcoin giveaway and I wanted it to be verifiable or whatever, and it has been now, so that's been done. And yes, so that's happened. and that's kind of cool, right? So you can join the Discord and you can do this again. This will happen again in the future at some point, probably, for audio only. And what else is there? The Discord itself is pretty dandy, pretty neat. Lots of friendly people there. I'll be spending the rest of the day there, I reckon, as well today. So you give me a shout in there if you like. And what else is there? That's pretty much it, So thanks so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Look across the board. Looking at more than one episode is the way to do this thing. You will benefit greatly for conducting your technical analysis in a holistic way like that, because that's what you would do if you were doing technical analysis on any other thing in the world. Professionals would always do that. They'd always look to correlate in assets. Always do that stuff. In crypto land, what you have is myopic people being myopic on purpose, and that is just, mostly catering to the sort of the FOMO nature of the world that we're in here. Just do it the way that people do it properly, because that's the way this stuff works. I'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Paching.